To the Planning Advisory Committee of January 14th, 2025. I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance today. My name is Joel Watts. I'm the Deputy Clerk and Recording Secretary for the Planning Advisory Committee. According to this committee's terms of reference, at the first meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee for each year, the first order of business is to appoint a chairperson to conduct today's meetings and for the rest of the meetings for this year till the remainder of the term of council. As there is an election, that would be until November 15th of this year. The role of the chairperson includes the responsibility to chair the meeting, ensuring that the meeting is conducted as listed on the agenda or by resolution if it's decided to move an item on the agenda, ensuring that meetings are conducted in accordance to the Planning Act and the city's procedural bylaw, and calling for pecuniary interest when listed on the agenda, noting that it's up to the individual committee member to determine whether or not they have a pecuniary interest, and ensuring that all members of the committee, visiting staff, and members of the public are treated with respect. Once the chairperson has been appointed, they will conduct the appointment of the vice chair of the committee, who will serve as the chairperson in absence of the chair. I will call upon the members of the committee 3 times now for the nomination for the position of chair. So firstly, I call upon the members of the committee to put forward a nomination for the position of chair. Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to put forward Member Vale's name for chair.
And Member Vale, do you consent to the nomination?
I do.
Perfect, thank you. I call upon the members of the committee a second time for the nomination of the position of chair. And I call upon the members of the committee a third and final time for nominations for the position of chair. Seeing only one person nominated, I declare that Andrew Vale is appointed by acclamation as chair of the Planning Advisory Committee. Please come forward and assume your position as chair and conduct the meeting, including the appointment of the vice chair. And as you remember, don't forget your name tag.
All right, so we will begin the process for the nomination of vice chair. Firstly, I call upon the members of the committee to put forward a nomination for the position of vice chair. Mayor Elmsley.
I'll put forward Pat O'Reilly.
Member O'Reilly, do you consent?
I always want to say I do, but I guess I will.
I call on the members of the committee a second time for a nomination for the position of vice chair. I call on the members of the committee a third and final time for the position of vice chair. Okay, seeing and hearing none, and since there is only one nominated, I declare that Member O'Reilly is appointed by acclamation as the Vice Chair of the Planning Advisory Committee, and the Vice Chair will assume the role of the Chair in the absence of the Chair. Okay, and with that, we will call the meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee to order. I would be looking for an adoption of this afternoon's agenda. Member Willick, seconded by Member Barkwell. All in favor? That carries. Is there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we will move right into public meeting reports. As required under the Planning Act, a public meeting is being held prior to the committee making a recommendation on these applications. All recommendations that come out of this afternoon will be forwarded to the next regular council meeting on January the 27th. The purpose of this public hearing is to allow the committee to gather information on the applications before us, to hear those wishing to make submissions on applications, and to allow the committee to ask questions of the applicants, interested parties, and staff. Everyone speaking today is requested to state their name for the public record, and in the interest of time, the committee respectfully asks that you keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. When the appropriate time comes after the planner makes their presentations, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to speak to any public meeting items on the agenda. At that point, please either unmute yourself and turn your video on, or come to the podium and press the speak button to activate the microphone. And with that, we will move into item 3.1, Plan 2026-001, an application to amend the Township of Eldon zoning bylaw 94-14 at 77 Driftwood Shores Road, Kirkfield. Julio, go ahead.
Okay. Everyone see my screen? So, hello everyone. My name is Julio Sarti Caldera. I'm a planner from Dilla Consulting Limited, here on behalf of the City of Kawartha Lakes Development Services Division. It is a pleasure being here again today. I hope everyone had a great new year and that everyone is ready for another year to come. So thank you to the applicant and the owner for being here today, and to staff, the chair, and the rest of the Planning Advisory Committee for considering the zoning bylaw amendment application to recognize an existing boathouse being presented today and received for informational purposes only. I would like to note that notice for this application was originally given to each landowner, agencies, and departments in accordance with matters of the Planning Act. This is the first circulation and appearance for this application. The subject lands includes a lot of approximately 4,166 square meters with 37 meters of frontage on Driftwood Shores Road. Additionally, the land situated between the primary lot and Canal Lake is approximately 466 square meters in size and belongs to Parks Canada. The subject land contain a one-story single detached dwelling and a garage. The adjacent lakeside portion contains a boathouse and a wooden deck. Surrounding uses include single detached residential to the south, east, and west, agricultural to the south, and Canal Lake to the north. The subject lands are designated waterfront in Schedule A4 of the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan, and the subject lands are zoned environmental protection and rural residential type 3 in Schedule A of the Township of Eldon Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 94-14. A boathouse is not a permitted use in the environmental protection zone. Therefore, the applicant is seeking to rezone the rear portion of the site to rural residential type 3 to recognize the existing boathouse as an independent accessory structure that is functionally associated with the residential use of the main lot. The city has received authorization from Parks Canada, the owner of the lands to be rezoned, to proceed with the application. An amendment to the Township of Eldon Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 94-14 is required to change the current zone in order to facilitate the proposal. Planning staff are working with the applicant to resolve application deficiency identified during planning review. More specifically, how the boathouse will comply with the provisions of the proposed zone. At this time, this fulfill the statutory public meeting requirements as set out in the Planning Act. Planning staff respectfully recommend that the zoning bylaw amendment D06-2025-019 through report Plan 2026-001 be received for informational purposes only and referred back to staff until refinements to the zoning bylaw amendment have been addressed. Planning staff and the applicant are here to assist in any questions anyone may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Committees, any questions of planning at this time? Okay, seeing none. Does the applicant, owner, or their agent wish to speak to the application? Okay, and with that then, committee, since you have no questions, what is your recommendation to council? Oh, sorry. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak to the application? Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Calling a third and final time. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Okay, committee. Mayor Elmsley.
As printed.
Seconder for the motion, Member O'Reilly. Any discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. That brings us to item 3.2 on the agenda, Plan 2026-002, applications to amend the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan and the Township of Eldon Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 94-14 at 1006 Centennial Park Road, Kirkfield, Canal Lake Waterfront Properties Corp. Mr. Gouvet?
Hello, everyone. My name is Timothy Gouveia. I'm an urban planner from Dillon Consulting Limited here on behalf of the City of Kawartha Lakes Development Services Division. Happy to be here at the first PAC meeting of 2026. Thank you to the applicant and to members of the public for being here today, and to staff and the chair and the rest of the Planning Advisory Committee for considering these official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications. This proposal seeks to enable year-round permanent residential use of 41 seasonal detached condominium dwelling units. This report is being presented and received for informational purposes only today. I would like to note that notice for this application was originally given by way of newspaper December 18th, 2025, as well as on the City of Kawartha Lakes website, and to agencies and city departments which may have an interest in the application in accordance with the Planning Act. This is the first circulation and appearance at PAC for this application, and the subject lands are located at 1006 Centennial Park Road, known legally as part of lots 22 and 23 north of Portage Road, and part of lots 31 and 32 concession 4 in the township of Eldon. The subject lands encompass a total area of approximately 2.5 hectares. This site is currently accessed via a private common element road and is serviced by a private on-site common well and sewage systems. Existing uses on the property include a constructed model home, a pump house, and other areas of the land, which are vacant. Surrounding uses include Canal Lake to the north, east, and south of the property, and Centennial Road, as well as existing residential development to the west. Development of these lands is currently governed by a site plan agreement registered in 2021, which originally secured the site for 41 modular seasonal residential units, as well as a private communal system to satisfy a holding provision. As seasonal residences here in Eldon, there's a mandatory 60-day service shutdown period to ensure that only seasonal use of the dwellings is maintained. The holding symbol was removed in 2023, but a key component of the current framework is a servicing agreement registered in October 2023. This agreement places the full responsibility for the design, maintenance, and financial security of the private communal water and wastewater systems on the condominium corporation. Today's application seeks to pivot from this established seasonal framework to a permanent residential model. The subject lands are currently designated rural in the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan and under the Township of Eldon Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 94-14. The lands are zoned tourist commercial exception 1, 2, and 3, with portions zoned as environmental protection and agricultural. The applicant is proposing to redesignate and rezone the lands to facilitate the conversion of 41 detached residential condominium units from seasonal use to year-round permanent habitation. The official plan amendment is necessary because the official plan requires any new development with 6 or more residential units to be connected to full municipal systems if the units are for year-round occupancy. Because this development uses private communal systems, a rural special designation is required to legally permit this specific servicing arrangement. The zoning bylaw amendment is necessary because the current zoning, commercial exception 1, 2, and 3, restricts the use of units to only vacation dwellings. In order to enable the proposed development, the subject lands need to be rezoned to rural residential type 3 to redefine the existing dwellings as single detached dwellings. This would remove the requirement for the mandatory service shutdown period and allow for year-round habitation. Several residents in the surrounding area reached out to staff to provide comments and ask questions regarding the proposal. A number of these residents are here today to speak. However, a handful were not able to attend this meeting in person online. For the record, I will provide a summary of their comments and questions. If there's anyone listening today in the meeting online or in person who was not able to speak that I missed, rest assured that all emailed comments and letters were provided to the committee for review prior to the meeting today. The first person whose comments I received was from Sean Morrison. Morrison spoke in opposition to the rezoning, citing an assurance from the Ministry of Natural Resources that year-round development would never be approved due to the area's fragile ecosystem during a previous public meeting for this site. Morrison raised concerns regarding the limitations of the island's infrastructure, specifically the single-lane, load-restricted federal bridge and the lack of safety shoulders on Centennial Park Road to handle increased traffic. Furthermore, Morrison highlighted the existing stress on the local water table and hydro grid, the historical significance of the land to Indigenous peoples, and flagged concerns with the city's procedures regarding public notification. Sam Sakowicz was another member of the public who provided comments. Sakowicz submitted a written opposition noting that the area's infrastructure and environmental systems are already under strain. Sakowicz raised questions regarding the lack of transparent community consultation and whether the current electrical grid and groundwater table can support year-round residency, giving issues with dry wells, noting level 1 and level 2 low water conditions as documented by Kawartha Conservation in August and December of last year. Additionally, Sakowicz established safety concerns regarding the one-lane bridge, the protection of sensitive wildlife habitats, including eagle and deer nesting areas, and the status of archaeological assessments for artifacts found on site. Sakowicz provided a question for the applicant. So Tom or Greg, if you can note this and respond when you speak, that would be appreciated. The member of the public is wondering if it was the developer's intention from the outset of this project to use the 3-season approval as a stepping stone to pursue year-round homes, and if so, why was this not clearly communicated to residents during the initial approval process? The third member of the public whose comments I have to share here today is Adam Law. Law inquired whether Environment Canada or Parks Canada were consulted regarding potential environmental impacts, particularly given the site's proximity to Canal Lake. He raised specific concerns regarding the status of the Ministry of Natural Resources environmental assessments for proposed boat slips and docks. Additionally, Law inquired about the project's projected start date in terms of construction and the availability of detailed site structures for public viewing, and whether there are penalties for environmental impacts or construction delays. Law also expressed concerns regarding procedural transparency, specifically seeking clarification on how community input would influence the final decision, and noting that the 1 p.m. meeting time for PAC made it difficult for working residents to attend. This meeting fulfills the statutory public meeting requirements. Staff maintain that there are concerns regarding the application's ability to conform with land use policy, specifically regarding the city's challenges with entering into a municipal responsibility agreement for the management of private communal systems. Planning staff respectfully recommend the following. First, that the application be received for informational purposes only, and that the application be referred back to staff for further review of the application's merits and updated documentation, including the archaeological report, servicing strategy, and a comprehensive site status update. Planning staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions the committee or members of the public may have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Committee, any questions of Mr. Gouveia? Deputy Mayor Richardson?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'm not sure if I'm directing this question into the particular order here, but what assurances exist that the private communal water system will actually support year-round occupancy? And another question I do is, are there any updated studies that are a current condition with this application?
I think those might be questions for the applicant's planner when we get there. Any further questions for Mr. Gouveia? Councillor Warren?
Yes, through you, Chair. I guess it's a similar question when this does come forward. You know, what happens if the condominium fails to look after the water and wastewater? There have been cases where the Ministry of Environment have gotten involved and had the municipality have to take over the system. So that needs to be looked at. So I guess it's more of a comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Committee, any further questions of planning at this time? Member Nguyen?
With respect to, thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to access and traffic and congestion, because the pathway onto the property is by bridge from mainland, would the municipality have to do an assessment to see if, you know, additional travel will cause or compromise the bridge or cause additional wear and tear? Do we need to, you know, increase the lane or reinforce any of the structure? Is that going to be part of the consideration?
Mr. Gouveia?
The responsibility for that research would be the applicant to determine whether or not, through a traffic impact study, whether or not the number of new units being permanent would make a significant impact. So that report would identify if that Centennial Park Road is sufficient for an increase of traffic.
Okay, does that answer your question? I think I was just, so I think what's missing there, right, is what you've requested, Mr. Gouveia, of the applicant as far as tests and studies that they're required to submit when this report goes back to staff, if that's the committee's wish.
So, sorry, just to clarify, you're asking if we have requested a study of that nature from the applicant?
Yes.
At this time, we have not made that request specifically relating to the infrastructure, like the bridge that was mentioned. But that's possible.
Chair, thank you to the planner for sort of continuing this discussion. I'll just add that, and as the report addresses, there are a number of outstanding dated or studies that have been completed that need to be updated again or revised. It's an ongoing review, and that is what this current period is that we are in, is an agency review, consultation, public review period. So at this time, staff in other divisions, in addition to planning, have actually requested an extension to the typical sort of 20-25 day review period so that we can provide back to the applicant and the proponent a comprehensive list of studies that need to be updated. Traffic is certainly one of them. Thanks.
Member Nguyen?
Sorry, just to clarify, I think it's, to me, it's more than traffic, it's structural as well, and it could be incumbent on the city to incur additional liability or additional costs in order to make sure that we are meeting that, and it's not just traffic flow.
Member O'Reilly?
I'm just not sure whether this is the appropriate time to ask or not, but when speaking to Leah, giving us the information, said that under the alternatives, staff noted that such a change would necessitate a municipal responsibility agreement. When they're updating everything in Queen's Park these days, is that still the status quo, or is there anything new with the new municipal responsibility agreements, or?
Director Barry?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I mean, they continue to be an option, a tool that's available to the municipality. We have some specific language in the city's official plan as to how municipal responsibility agreements can or should be used. There's also a history with council decisions of there having been both policies for the use of municipal responsibility agreements, but then subsequently rescinding the council policies on using new municipal responsibility agreements for new developments, which this would be. So all of that information is still under review. The conversation has certainly commenced and has been going on for well over a year with the proponent as to how a developer goes about requesting this type of agreement with the city, knowing that the city's position is not to enter into municipal responsibility agreements for specifically this type of development.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Richardson?
Thank you, and I think I was just going to add on regarding the traffic study is that, you know, that emergency access and that year-round maintenance is also a concern that would have to be addressed as well.
Okay. Mayor Elmsley?
Is one of those bridges owned by DSW?
I'll just jump in to note that I'm not certain. I was looking up to see whether our planner had any background on that, but that is information that we'll return to the committee with.
My only concern is TSW's track record on bridges in Kawartha Lakes has sometimes left us wanting.
Okay, committee, any further questions of planning staff at this time? Everybody's good? Okay, does the applicant, owner, or their agent wish to speak to the application? Mr. DeBoer, go ahead.
Good afternoon, council and committee. I'm here today representing Canal Lake Waterfront Properties, and I've heard a lot of questions coming forward. I think I have answers to most of them. As it relates to the bridge that Mayor Elmsley had asked, I believe it is under the ownership of TSW, and it has been rehabilitated in the last 5 years. It was all done. It is one of the, I think it's the tallest arch bridge in the entire canal system. So it is, I believe it is theirs. As it relates to the hydrogeological component, both for water and septic, we've had our engineer review to see whether there is a difference between the seasonal nature or the permanent nature of the use of the system, and they've concluded that these systems are more than adequate to meet both those requirements. We're looking to change the use of this property. Currently, when and if the homes are occupied, they can be occupied for a duration of 10 months in its entirety, and then 2 months have to leave. So we're dealing with 60 days, and that's the increase that we're asking for at this point. So the use of the property can already accommodate the traffic, the hydrogen, and everything else. The 2 months that they're choosing not to do this are in the winter months. Usually it's January and February, in which case those would be off-season at any rate within the whole community. So I think the additional 60-day use is not as big of a concern as a lot of people have alluded to in terms of the infrastructure, because we can't design a septic system to only last 10 months instead of 12. So they've all been designed for the full year-round use already. Likewise, same with the water system. We have also been working with the ministry with regards to the septic and whether or not it's going to have an impact. There has been the idea of the MRA. There's another mechanism that the province does have available as well that does not involve the municipality, in which case the proponent can offer a security to the province. Should the system fail, the province then steps in and repairs it for them. So we're investigating that option. We're speaking with the ministry as of actually right now, our consultants, and we should have an answer on that, which we'll report back to staff as well during that whole process to see if that's something that we can work together in order to achieve this to move forward. And if there's any other questions, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Committee, any questions to Mr. DeBoer? Member O'Reilly?
It might be premature at this point, Tom, but would you have an idea if your owners or would be interested, the owner, in municipal responsibility agreements, or would you have a comment on that?
I do have a comment on it, and I believe he is interested, and he is on the line. If we can ask him as well, he will be speaking shortly as one of the delegations this afternoon. So by all means, we can ask him that, but it's our understanding that he is more than willing to sign it.
Member Barkwell?
Yeah, as this is seasonal, residences and mobile park, normally they only have 15 or 30 amp, to mobile homes. And I wonder if a full hydro system has been there and adequate for the 12 months.
So last year, the entire system was installed with the assistance of Hydro One. We have full three-phase power throughout the entire system. The intention is not a mobile home park. First off, these are actually stick-built homes on foundations. So we have 100 amp or 200 amp, depending on what the intended hydro load of each unit can be, but they can have 200 amp services.
Deputy Mayor Richardson, did Mr. DeBoer cover your questions from before?
Yes, he did. I just have one more, if you don't mind, through you, Chair. Does the existing stormwater system also meet those permanent residential standards?
Yes.
Okay, committee, any further questions of Mr. DeBoer at this time? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then we'll move to is there anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Please, okay. Please come forward.
Hello? Yeah, we're on. Hi, my name is John Wild. I've lived at 9 Eldonia, which is immediately behind this whole development there. We've been there for 31 years. I have copies of each of our neighbors' submissions of concern. A lot of them have been covered. The main one is water. As you know, we're all on our own individual wells, taking from the aquifers below the ground. Seasonal use of that would have been, like most cottages, not all the time. Changing to residential, people are going to be there all the time drawing on that water source, and we are concerned that it's going to affect the wells within the area. So we were wondering, although they say, yeah, we've covered it, we've looked at everything, I really have trouble believing that. And it wasn't until today that I found out that they're actually using wells and not drawing from the lake, and the reasons why. So that is, like, if our wells go dry, and last year with the drought, we did have a lot of issues with dry wells and stuff. And how is it, we want to know, is there going to be a plan going forward on addressing neighbors' wells if that happens? Traffic is a concern, especially with that single lane bridge, is not well signed to yield to oncoming traffic. And I personally know my daughter nearly got into an accident on that bridge because people don't understand how to use that single lane bridge. They just don't yield. And so that's a concern. And also, there is a lot of wildlife in that area, including deer and bald eagles and stuff. And we want to make sure that wildlife is not affected by the development. Seasonal would have been, yeah, they're there, but not all the time. Not as much of effect. Now that we have people there year-round, or we would have, that could have quite an effect on the flora and fauna of the area. One that I brought up at the initial meeting years ago when they first put this in was dark sky. Dark sky, we don't have lights. We don't have street lights or anything in the area. It's all private. So we have a good dark sky. As you know, developments like this can create a lot of light pollution, and we want to try and maintain that. So I asked at that time if they look at putting in dark sky lighting, and that there is a dark sky lighting standard which directs the light down, not up. And although it's been replied that that's not a requirement, it would be a good community gesture to look at that. I know there's a plan for short-term rentals in place, but that is a concern about that as well. And those were my concerns. I'd like to highlight other ones that were put in place or suggested by our neighbors. Again, the water was one. The hydro infrastructure, although I know it's been upgraded. Last year we had 11 days without power due to the ice storm. Already this year we've had a 36-hour power outage, so I'm really questioning how well is the hydro structure there. The Indian artifacts, we didn't see the report or hear anything about what happened from the archaeological study, although apparently it is available. There was nothing really put out for local people to go in and see what was found there and that sort of thing. And then the other one, this is from Sam Semkowicz, is the question, is the developer doing any investments in the broader community? Will there be any parkland, hiking trails, or commitments to preserving natural habitat? So that was another thought from Sam. Sean Morrison, again, was the bridges and the historical significance to the Indigenous people, the local water table, hydro infrastructure, and the increased traffic due to people being there year-round. That really is a bit of a concern. The Levitt Lane, this is from Dennis Good, the Levitt Lane currently connects to Centennial Road. That's on a curve when you're coming around. You really don't see that. So we really want to make sure that that is addressed, whether you put in a turning lane or signs to something has got to be done there, because there will be something going on eventually. People don't stick to the 60K limit there, and we all know that. And they come around that bend pretty fast. So we want to make sure that's looked at. I think that pretty much covers the major concerns of the neighborhood. The big one is the water. We're all drawing from wells that we've drilled on our own, at our own expense. We maintain at our own expense. So if we lose that, then water is a key ingredient to living. So we want to make sure that is well addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, committee? Everybody's good? Okay. Anyone else from council chambers wishing to speak to the application? Okay, so we'll go online. Is Mr. Gibson? Oh, you're on mute.
You put us on.
No.
Yep, go ahead. We can hear you.
You hear us? Okay. Yeah. It's Blair and Henny Gibson. We're seasonal residents up in the area as well, and we echo a lot of the same concerns that Mr. Wild and the other residents expressed, and so I don't want to duplicate those, but I want to take us back to why wasn't it permanent residential application in the beginning? Like, I don't understand that part. Like, why did they go through the whole, or they go through the whole process of making a seasonal application in the beginning? Was this because they thought it was going to be a springboard to make a year-round application? Were they advised somehow by people on the inside to say to go do it this way? To me, the whole thing seems like a little bit of a very suspicious, put it that way. And my wife feels the same way, of course. And I don't know if anybody can answer that question for us. why are we coming to this now? And, you know, that's.
I also feel that going from like the seasonal, which is 10 months, people just coming and going mostly on weekends, hardly at all, maybe in the spring and fall, to going full time for 12 months where they're there every day, possibly a lot of people all day. That's a huge difference, like from like seasonal. Like, if somebody has a property that's seasonal, they're only going to be there. You know, they have another property somewhere else. So they're during the week, they're not going to be there. And also, like those shoulder seasons where it's kind of cold and mucky and rainy and all that, they're not going to be there. Now they're going to be living there. This is going to be their home. So this is going to be much bigger impact than seasonal. Like with the environment, the animals, the roads, the bridges, the water, the sewer, where's all this sewage going to go? That's my main concern. And it's I think, you know, I don't know what kind of studies are done, but how do you know once it's all built that the sewage is going in the proper spot? Mm-hmm. And what if it's not? And who gets inspected and how often? And it's a lot of homes for a small area on a small lake that's already quite stressed.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, that's
thank you.
That's basically. I mean, a lot of the other questions have been handled in your emails and letters you received, and as well as the what Mr. Wild and his neighbors had to say. So I think.
And just I want to point out, like, what water access to each of these homes are they going to have? Are they going to be able to put in docks? I know originally it was supposed to be a common dock, but what's to stop people from just going to the edges of the property where there's ducks and swans and so all that nesting? Like, can people just kind of wander out into the water, go swimming? Like, so I don't know. That's it.
Yep. That's
Okay.
it from us.
Okay, thank you for that. Committee, any questions of Mr. or Mrs. Gibson at this time? Everybody's good? Okay, Mr. Gilmore.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. So I'm Greg Gilmore. My brother and I own the property. And we were not the original developers. The original developers bought the property and started developing it in 2008. And slowly over the years, they had given Grant and I think 2% of the property to try and get our input and involvement in it. And slowly over the years, we ended up buying them all off because they got so frustrated with the process. So they're the ones that started this process with the seasonal zoning. We only took over about 5 years ago, I'm going to say, and then we've been very diligent on it. We spent millions of dollars on it since we've taken it over because we see it as a ideal little piece of property. It's 70 acres, so it's not a small piece of property. It's 70 acres for only a little over 40 houses. So and so the and Grant and I are both cottagers. We've had cottages all our lives, and what we found is that the people who seem to be are interested in this property are people who already come to Canal Lake. Like most of our people who have been interested in buying have had already good experiences on Canal Lake. Lots of them have been seasonable people who want to be able to be there full time. So we've had a number of people from the trailer park that said that they'd love to just like have something permanent. And so the people who are most of our buyers are already fishing, boating, and walking, using the walking trails and using like snowmobiles in wintertime and cross-country skiing, and most of them have been introduced to Canal Lake by their by friends, right? And anyway, we've had also some people who are very interested in and retiring and getting away from the city and having something that they can be in for, you know, at a lower cost in a you know a nicer environment than they live in the city, and but most of those people are talking about, you know, taking a month and to go to Florida, you know, but 2 months is it means that they have to be a little bit further or more well off to take that amount of time away. But there's been several people who have been interested in doing that. And anyway, we have done everything to try and make it a really attractive community where it's attractive to the neighbors and attractive to the other people who live and use the lake. There is lots and lots of environmentally protected areas. I can answer to a couple of little questions that I know people said about the archaeological study. Well, the biggest piece that they found is about 1 inch. It's an old stone arrowhead. That is the biggest piece. The other things are tiny little chips of pottery. There is nothing of any value that was found in the archaeological study, but they said it looks like it was a fishing area and used to you know, clean fish. That's that is the bulk of it. It's like anyway, and we're so but we've respected that, and we've gone through 4 studies, and there's nothing of any significance whatsoever. As far as the water goes, we've done drilled wells. So we're drawing from wells, but we're drawing from deep wells, and the water study's been done. There's sufficient water, so we're certainly not going to affect the lakefront water at all. And again, we got 40 residences that can use the property for 10 months of the year. We're talking 60 days, and we're talking 60 days. We picked the 60 days from after Family Day weekend, so February 15th to April 15th, I think it is, or whatever. It's February, March, April. Yeah, April 15th. So that would be the shutdown period. But we've had people who said, like, you know, what about, I'm a snowmobiler, and it's a great little snowmobiler, and I use my property during that time, and technically they can use their property. They just wouldn't have water and sewage there. That's the only requirement as far as the shutdown goes. But my brother Grant and I both have had cottages where we don't have water in the wintertime, and we're digging a hole in the ice and bringing water out of the ice to use the bathrooms and to, you know, washing. So we've done so many environmental studies that and road studies. We know it can handle the traffic. We know it can handle the environment. The systems are all designed for year round because that's what they force you to do. Basically, the city has forced us to put in a municipal system that would be equivalent for like municipal use, and also as far as taking a look at the risk of a city having to take it over, it's so little, because basically what happens is that if people fall behind on their taxes, the taxes are the number one thing that gets paid, and that's municipality that takes over that. And next to that is the condominium fee. So the condominium fee falls in front of all the mortgages that are on the 40 properties. So there's over $20 million of security going to be behind the condominium corporation. The risk of taking this over is as far as I'm concerned, there's no risk. I just don't see it. I've been in the real estate business for 50 years, and there's no risk. And if you take a look at the past history of the municipal systems that city of Kawartha has taken over, it seems that they're all been like low-end water, like trailer park systems, and not of this quality. Anyway, but I'm not the engineer, and I'll let them speak to that. Anyway, I thought I'd let you know that we're my brother Grant's on the Canal Lake Waterfront Association, the Facebook, and he's extremely active cottager, more so than me. Anyway, I wanted to be here, so if you needed a question answered, I could do it. Although my team's here, and they're more qualified to answer the questions than I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmore. Mr. DeBauer, is there anything else you wanted to add to that? You're good. Committee, any questions of, oh, sorry, Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, a question. Who presently looks after your water and wastewater plants?
Go ahead, Tom.
Tom, look after answer that question.
To answer that question, Pat, we have one model home which is currently not serviced. The septic and water systems are not complete at this time. We started construction in the midsummer of last year to get all the linear infrastructure. The septic system is constructed. The pump station for the sanitary to the bed has not been installed, and the water treatment facility components have not been installed. Two reasons. Number one, we didn't want the infrastructure sitting over the winter time without being used. And number two, because there's a lack of sales, there hasn't been a need to push that through at this point. They're very expensive components, and when they're used, they work well, and when they're not used, they fail. So we just want to make sure that we're going to install them when the time is right. So at this point, there's nobody monitoring the system.
Just further to that, so like last summer, who would have been looking after those systems? It is a communal system.
Correct, and currently the system is not operational because it's not finished, because the construction for this component was completed last fall of 2025. When the system is up and operational, the water system will have to have a licensed operator that will be reporting on either a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, depending on the system, to the local health unit.
Okay, thank you. We'll see.
Committee, Member Nguyen.
Thank you very much. So I have a question for the applicant, and I guess Mr. DeBoer, the representative. With so many, I guess, resident surrounding the property opposing this development, do you have a plan to work with them, to discuss with them, to come up with potential mitigating solutions to address some of their concerns so that, you know, some of these things can be addressed prior to coming back to committee next time?
I agree they will be addressed one way or another before we come back. I mean, it's one of the project processes. As it relates to the overall, a lot of the questions that were here today, we've already studied this. This has been a project, as Greg mentioned, since 2008. We've gone through many studies, many updates to those studies, the Hydro-G being the most vigorous one. We do have Ministry of Environment approval for the septic system. Once all of the other approvals are in place, we have agreements that we're abiding by and we're obligated to. Transportation, for instance, such as sight lines leaving the site because of the location of the entrance. We did do some clearing on the municipal right-of-way in order to achieve that, which was all part of the study. So again, we've mitigated most of these items through the studies that were done, which gained the original approvals. So the only thing that could be imposed going forward, which I have heard loud and clear, is the opportunity for a test to see if the pumping of the aquifer that we're tapped into has any effect on any of the neighboring properties, by doing a pump test where we would have access to their well and we would pump our well, and if anything happens to theirs, we can see that the aquifer could be connected. Our hydrogeologist believes that we've actually hit a groundwater seam that penetrated far deeper than most of the resident wells, and we're actually picking up the bottom of the lake in this case. So we have not had any drawdown issues whatsoever with the lake. So, I mean, not the lake, but our wells, we can actually pump them continuously and they don't drop. Sure, absolutely. We can do that. Yeah.
Okay, Member Barkwell.
Just to clarify, I kind of lost track here. So it started in 2008, and you said that the houses are stick-built or will be stick-built. I didn't understand. I thought kind of it was a conversion, that there were 41 units, and they're just saying now we'd like to convert this condo system or development into a year-round. So are there lots being sold, or the builder, or Mr. Gilmore is a developer and is building and selling? I just don't understand how many are there now, and whether it's ongoing and just being converted, or is this a new development?
So as of December, we have one unit that's been constructed. It is constructed based on Part 9 of the building code. It's a standard house, insulated, air conditioning, heating, everything's there. Again, it's offline. It does have hydro to it, but it's offline because the water and sewer are not connected. So it was to be used as a representative model home for what they could be building on there. The original developer, and I've been on the project since 2008, if you can believe that. The original developer had an idea of using a modular home due to faster, cheaper construction techniques. Greg has chosen to prepare a better, more priced fit for the community. Therefore, these are actual physically built houses instead of a modular type.
Any further questions?
Yeah, so just to go back to you, Mike, the idea of a new development, yes, but we gained approvals in 2023. 2024 is when we started construction, and we finished it in 2025. But the approvals were granted in 23.
But I agree with most of the neighboring homeowners. There's a big difference between a summer cottage and a full-time home, you know, with the whole community, and how the usage, short-term rentals, all of that sort of thing. I think it makes a big difference. It's not just a technical, oh, we just want an extra 6 days or 10 or have it 10 months, an extra 2 months. I think this is a major ask that's coming to the committee.
Right. So as Mr. Gilmore alluded to, there's nothing prohibiting people from living there 12 months a year. The only thing they don't have is the opportunities to flush their toilet for 60 days. So if they wanted to go through the effort and bring buckets of water and everything else, the only stipulation in this whole process is to be shut down the water system. And that's regulated by the city and the ministry.
And if I may address that as well, people are using their cottages much more. I know that my brother goes up to his cottage year-round. He usually goes up Thursday night and stays till Monday morning. And I've got several people who I know who are renting a little 600 square foot little condo in the city to go to their job, but they spend like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night at their cottage home. That's where they enjoy their life and have their social life and their play life. And that's the kind of inquiry we're getting. People who want to make that their home, and have a little condo in the city if they're still working. And other people who have come to us and said, we want to retire. We're tired of the hustle bustle of the city and how everything's changing, and the traffic patterns have changed drastically. And so an old 15-minute drive now takes a half an hour in Mississauga, where I live. And so people are just having enough. And anyway, and the small town Ontario is very attractive. So and the Lindsay area is the land of lakes, and we have lots of people who own boats and are using the system and going through there. It's like it's a lovely part of the world, and and people are attracted to it. And certainly, the people who...
I think we've covered it, Mr. Gilmore.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
We're just trying to answer some questions here. Committee, any further questions? Mr. Rubauer?
I just had one further clarification. There has been a conversation regarding archaeological and the findings on the property. Through the whole development process, there's the point on the island, or at the tip, which has been zoned as a protection zone. There is a holding provision. The holding provision stipulates that we must finish the stage 4 archaeological investigation. The balance of the site has been cleared in its entirety, and therefore there's no reason for anybody to be concerned. So at this point, the ask for this particular rezoning only applies to the places that have already been cleared. The point will be dealt with at a later date if it becomes financially feasible.
Okay. Committee, any further questions at this time? Everybody good? Then what would your recommendation to council be? Member O'Reilly?
As printed.
Motion from Member O'Reilly that report plan 2026-002 applications to amend the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan and Township of Eldon comprehensive zoning bylaw 94-14 at 1006 Centennial Park Road, Kirkfield, Canal Lake, Waterfront Properties Corp., Gilmore, be received for information and be referred back to staff. Seconder for the motion, Member Willick. Any discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. That brings us to item 3.3, Plan 2026-003, application to amend the Township of Mariposa zoning bylaw 94-07 at 27 Little Britain Road, Manila Crestwood Golf Course. Ms. Fraser, go ahead.
Hi there, sorry about that. For those who haven't met me yet, my name is Aaliyah Fraser, and I'm an urban planner from Dillon Consulting here on behalf of the City of Kawartha Lakes Development Services Division. Thank you all for having me, and thank you to the applicant and the owner for being here today, and to staff and the chair and the rest of the Planning Advisory Committee for considering this zoning bylaw amendment application being presented today. The amendment is being sought to permit the development of a single detached dwelling being constructed on the same property as the existing golf course, driving range, and clubhouse. This report is being received for informational purposes only. I would like to note that the notice for this application was originally given by newspaper on December 8th, 2025, as well as to agencies and departments in accordance with the Planning Act on October 24th, 2025. This is the first circulation and appearance at PAC for this application. The subject lands are located at 27 Little Britain Road and are known legally as Part 1 Concession 4 South in the City of Kawartha Lakes. The subject lands encompass a total area of approximately 40.4 hectares or 99.8 acres. With approximately 48.5 meters or 159 feet of frontage on Little Britain Road. Surrounding uses include environmental protection and agricultural uses to the north, rural residential and agricultural uses to the east, and agricultural uses to the south and west. The subject lands are designated prime agricultural on Schedule A2 of the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan, which you can see on this diagram here, this excerpt from the official plan, I should say. And the portion of the subject lands where the golf course, clubhouse, and driving range are located is zoned Tourist Commercial Exception 1 on Schedule A of the Township of Mariposa zoning bylaw 94-07. Portions of the subject land are also zoned environmental protection and agricultural in the Township of Mariposa zoning bylaw. It's a little tough to see, unfortunately, but the applicant is proposing to rezone the portions of the subject lands to facilitate the construction of a single detached dwelling. The dwelling would front onto Little Britain Road and be located between two existing single detached dwellings at 15 and 25 Little Britain Road. So there's two properties that are cut out of 27 Little Britain, and the proposed dwelling would be located in the middle of those. So the application is needed to permit a residential use on the subject lands, and as the existing commercial tourist exception 1 zone does not permit residential uses, the resulting zoning bylaw amendment would also address the existing lot frontage, which is deficient, and recognize the existing clubhouse and driving range uses. Planning staff respectfully recommend that the application be received for informational purposes and be referred back to staff until the applicant has demonstrated that the existing golf course, clubhouse, and driving range uses constitute a legal nonconforming use and have been in operation prior to the passing of Township of Mariposa zoning bylaw 94-07. Myself, the applicant, and the owner are here to assist you with any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Committee, any questions for Ms. Fraser at this time? Okay, seeing none. Does the owner, applicant, or their agent wish to speak to the application? Mr. DeBoer.
Good afternoon again. I just wanted to add one thing. There was the legal nonconforming note that came through, and staff had requested some supporting documentation. We did receive from the owner of the property, who has owned it since 2003, that it was originally established in 1969, which predates any bylaw in the City of Kawartha Lakes or any previous villages. We're just in the midst of gaining that documentation as he's out of the country until today. And once we get that information, that should clear up that outstanding item. So if there's any other questions, by all means.
Thank you for that. Committee, any questions of Mr. DeBoer? Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you to you, Chair. Just a curiosity question. If the permanent residences, will it affect any operation or expansion of the golf course?
No, it's located in a portion that's keyed out of it's basically just open grass field right now, so it's not being utilized for anything.
Okay, committee, any further questions of Mr. DeBoer at this time? Everybody's good? Okay. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Calling a third and final time. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Okay. Seeing and hearing none. Committee, Mayor Elmsley.
I did have a question for the director.
Okay, go ahead.
Director, it says zoning bylaw amendment would also recognize the existing lot frontage along Little Britain Road, which does not meet the minimum lot frontage requirements. Under the new rural zoning bylaw, would it meet the requirements?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. I understand that the planners will be doing a compliance review of both the proposed rural zoning bylaw as well as the existing. And the reason for that, and committee hasn't had to deal with that today, given there aren't any bylaws that are being recommended for your consideration to move forward. But as we sort of get a year on plus from the rural zoning bylaw exercise, staff have decided that it makes some sense from an efficiency perspective to start amending both the rural zoning bylaw as well as the current township bylaw, just to eliminate some of the administrative work that is going to be needed once the rural zoning bylaw does come into force and effect. You can imagine all the amendments that are before you that you recommend to council approval for ultimately have to also be reflected in the rural zoning bylaw. This is going to be one of those exercises that we do to ensure if the deficiency is in the rural zoning bylaw as well, it'll be addressed through an amendment that you'll see before it goes to council.
Okay. Committee, Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. I'll move it as printed. That report plan 2026-003, application to amend the Township of Mariposa zoning bylaw 94-07 at 27 Little Britain Road, Manila, Crestwood Golf Course be received for information.
Seconder for the motion, Member Barkwell. Any discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Thank you. That brings us to item 3.4, Plan 2026-004, application to amend the Town of Lindsay Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2000-75 at 2 King Street, Lindsay, Midas. Mr. Fishman?
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. All right, so for those who I haven't met, my name is Mark Fishman, and I'm an urban planner from Dillon Consulting Limited, here on behalf of the City of Kawartha Lakes Development Services Division. Thank you to the applicant for being here today, and to staff and the chair and the rest of the Planning Advisory Committee for considering the zoning bylaw amendment application. The subject lands are located at 2 King Street in Lindsay and are known legally as Plan 15P Lot 1 and Part Lots 2 and 3 east of Lindsay Street, north of King Street, Town of Lindsay in the City of Kawartha Lakes. The applicant is seeking to permit ground floor residential units within the central commercial zone. And this is the first circulation and appearance at PAC for this application. Notice for this application was originally given to each landowner, agencies, and departments in accordance with matters of the Planning Act. The application before us today is being presented and received for informational purposes only. The subject lands encompass a total area of approximately 0.19 hectares or 0.47 acres, with approximately 43.6 meters or 143.04 feet of frontage on King Street. Existing uses include a 2-story mixed-use building with a commercial at grade and residential units above on the 2nd floor. The surrounding uses include the following: to the north, commercial and residential; to the east, commercial, residential, and open space; to the south, community facility, commercial, and the Scugog River corridor; and to the west, community facility, open space, and the Scugog River corridor as well. The subject lands are located within the Lindsay Urban Settlement Area designation on Schedule A3 of the City of Kawartha Lakes Official Plan, and are located within the Central Business District designation on Schedule F1 of the Lindsay Secondary Plan. Subject lands are zoned Central Commercial on Schedule A of the Town of Lindsay Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2000-75. The applicant is proposing to amend the Town of Lindsay Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2000-75 to permit ground floor residential units within the central commercial zone. Ground floor residential units is currently prohibited in the central commercial zone. However, to enable the proposed development, the subject lands must be rezoned from central commercial to central commercial exception, with a provision included which would permit ground floor residential uses. The application is strictly for the change in zoning and does not propose any physical development or site alteration at this time. This meeting fulfills the statutory public meeting requirements as set out in the Planning Act. The planning staff respectfully recommend the following: the application be received for informational purposes only at this time, and that the application be referred to staff for review to ensure the site plan complies with accessibility standards. The applicant must clearly label all barrier-free parking spaces and update their planning justification report to ensure all technical details are accurate and consistent. Planning staff and the applicant are here to assist in responding to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Committee, any questions of Mr. Fishman at this time? Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you through you, Chair. Just wondering, with the addition of the ground floor residential, will there be any impacts to the parking demand?
Through the chair, I can speak to that. We have requested the applicant look at the parking requirements again to clearly identify the changes in the planning justification report, as we clearly right now don't have a clear picture and would like some further justification. The applicant's here today to potentially speak further to that.
Okay. Member Willock?
Through the chair to the planner, how many units are being proposed for this corner?
Through the chair, on the top of my head, I cannot recall how many units. I would conclude to the applicant to answer the question.
Okay. Is the applicant?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Vanessa Archer from TD Consulting. Here is the applicant on the file. I'm just trying to look up the planning justification report here. If we could just bear with me for a second. Sorry, technical difficulties. Of course, it doesn't want to work. I do apologize. The reception in here is not working to pull this up on my phone right now, but we had provided a revised site plan as well as planning justification report, I believe prior to the Christmas shutdown, that addressed these parking questions, as well as we did look into how many parking requirements were based off of the change of going to residential on the ground floor. So I do believe that was actually addressed in the revisions, which Dylan should have. So hopefully we can get this sorted out before it comes back, but it was addressed through that.
Okay. Member
I believe it's 5 units, 5 to 6 units is what the ground floor was going to be.
Through your chair, mine was more curiosity because if it was 10 units, it's 20 parking spots. If it's 1, it's 2. So yeah,
correct,
I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Okay, committee, any further questions of Mr. Fishman? Member Nguyen?
Just to clarify, on the second floor, how many units are there? And then I guess with the additional units being proposed on the first floor, once we figure it out, not only in terms of parking, but will that put undue burdens on the city's municipal sewage and water system? And I guess in terms of property tax, will the property be fully zoned residential as a result, or how does that work? And lastly, with respect to, I guess, the overall policy, whether or not fits, the last thing I want it to turn into is like a rooming house because there's so many units in a very small structure.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes, through the chair. So yes, there's existing residential units on the second floor of the existing building. I believe there is 2 units, but I'd allow the applicant to correct me if I'm spoken. And the applicant is going in for an exception zone to the current existing central commercial zone. This would potentially allow for commercial or residential on the ground floor instead of making it a standalone residential building.
Does that cover your questions, Member Nguyen? Okay. Committee, any further questions of Mr. Fishman at this time? Everybody's good? Okay. The applicant, Ms. Archer.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I was able to pull this back up on my phone now. So we have 5 residential units on the upper floor currently. It will be a total of 15 units in the building at the end. Currently, the parking spaces that are required based off of the mixed commercial and residential, it's 28 spaces, and it's actually one space deficient currently. And the parking for the residential will be 20 spaces, so we are sufficient. And we've changed that site plan, as I said. So the rear of the building there's a little note that says 3 parking existing. We're going to put we're actually going to put 2 accessible parking spaces there based off the new site plan that we've provided. Hopefully that addresses anything, and if there's anything additional, I'm here.
Okay, committee, any questions of Ms. Archer at this time? Councillor Ashmore?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a question on, there is one commercial use there right now. Is that commercial tenant still going to be able to continue on with their business, or will it be entirely residential from here on after the renovation?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe the existing one that's there right now is the Remax, and I believe that they have intentions of moving. There was a hairdresser, but that has not been open.
The hairdresser one.
The hairdresser? I don't believe it's open right now.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions from committee? All right, seeing none, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak to this application? Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Calling a third and final time. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the application? Seeing and hearing none. Committee, your recommendation to council. Member Barkwell.
That the report plan 2026-004, the application to amend the Town of Lindsay Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2000-75 at 2 King Street, Lindsay, be received for information.
Seconder for the motion, Member Willick. Any discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Thank you. So with that, this public meeting being held under the Planning Act is now adjourned. And we will move into item 4, deputations, which I believe we have none. Correspondence, which I believe we have none. And item 6, regular returned reports. Item 6.1, Plan 2026-005, red line revisions to draft approved plan of subdivision, Squires Built Homes, Inc. Director Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hopefully we wrap things up here short and sweet. What we have in front of us is a red line revision request. So this is a draft approved plan. It has been through a substantial public consultation and agency review period over the years. The effect of the minor revision to the draft approval is actually not increasing or decreasing the proposed density in this subdivision. Instead, it's asking for some minor lotting adjustments, so moving around some lot lines essentially, to respond to comments that staff have asked the developer to do to better manage stormwater. So what that does, and I'll ask my colleague Joel to advance the slides, is actually going to be the creation of 2 stormwater management blocks that don't currently exist in the draft plan, but by effect of the red line approval, it would do so. So shift some lot lines to accommodate 2 stormwater blocks, and we'll get to that slide in just a minute. Additionally, there are, as you can see on the current slide, a couple of blocks that at one point, if we go way back to the mid-90s, when the ministry originally draft approved the subdivision for 22 lots in Downeyville, there was some thought that there be future residential development north of this draft plan. And so these 2 blocks, 12 and 14, would accommodate that. Joel, if I can ask you to advance the slide for us. So the teal colored, I'll say road pattern that goes through the draft plan, essentially through the center and then takes us down to St. Luke's Road, that has remained teal on both the current state and the proposed state to help orient you. So the lots themselves are not changing, again, in number or generally in location, but the size of some are changing at the extreme east section of the draft plan, and you can see clearly blocks 23 and 24 are the new blocks to manage stormwater management. To manage stormwater. There we are. That sounds a bit better. So again, we are in the hamlet, which certainly permits the draft plan and the residential use. The zoning will not be impacted by the proposed minor revisions that you see in front of you. We did again circulate the red line request to our commenting agencies. We received no concerns of the comments that came back. They are listed in your planning reports from Community Services, from our colleagues in the Septic Division, from Development Engineering, from Edinbridge, from KRCA, and from Alderville First Nation. I will just take a moment to emphasize that notwithstanding the comments provided by Chief Simpson, there has been archaeological assessment work both done and accepted by the ministry. The archaeological report was entered into the public register in 2022. And certainly we maintain our commitment to continue including Alderville First Nations and the other First Nations groups on any changes, should there be any proposed, to the draft plan. The developer is quite anxious to keep moving and addressing the remaining conditions of draft approval and moving towards a subdivision agreement later this year. In fact, in the next few months is when we anticipate looking at a draft subdivision agreement. So certainly a good news story. We are here to recommend approval through you to council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Barry. Questions, Deputy Mayor Richardson?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So what are those outstanding conditions that need to be satisfied before they move forward this year and finalize?
Through you, Chair, to the member, there are a number of conditions that yet remain unmet or unsatisfied. We have included the full condition package as an appendix to the report, so we can go through them one by one, but they are standard. They are conventional, and in fact they were reviewed by staff not long ago. This subdivision had technically lapsed under the Planning Act, but then through changes to the Planning Act a number of years ago, the city was in a position to reactivate the plan so that it was deemed not to have lapsed, but it was an opportunity to update and refresh the conditions that needed to still be satisfied from the engineering perspective, from the Conservation Authority perspective, and a number of others, but certainly not unusual and not irregular.
Councillor Warren?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. To Leah, I was wondering, I maybe have missed it in the report. Was there an EIS done?
Through the chair to the member, well, an EIS for the purposes of the red line revision was not required. Happy to look at the background of the file to 1995 to, just provide that certainty for you and for the committee. That would have been a standard requirement at the time under the Act, that be submitted and formed part of the rezoning process that was undertaken a number of years ago.
Councillor Ashmore? Councillor Ashmore?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Berry. I wanted to thank you for getting this reactivated, and everybody worked hard on this. This is big news for Downeyville, and it's great for the community of Downeyville that this is in its final stages here to get going. I just have 3 quick questions. The first one is the water. There's been wells drilled there over the years that I see there that have been drilled. So how many are there going to be individual wells, or it's a communal well system? How is that going to work? There's some wells that have already been drilled. Are they going to be utilized, or each lot, will they have a new drilled well?
Through the chair, to the member, every individual lot of the 22 is proposed to have its own individual independent well.
Okay, good. Next question is the entrances. I see two entrances. There's one on St. Luke's Road. Is there another entrance on Sturgeon Road as well? I see on that diagram there. Would that be correct that there are two entrances into the subdivision, or just the one on St. Luke's Road?
Yeah, through the member, to the member, there are two entrances. You are reading the plan correctly, one to Sturgeon and one out to St. Luke's at the south end.
Okay, good. And finally, with this development, this developer being in it for a few years, and as far as the DC charges, would they be still grandfathered in from what they originally were, or are they subject to the new current rates for the DC fees, charges?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And back through the chair to the member. So we are reviewing the recent changes to and how they affect the development. The development, though, did go through a zoning amendment a number of years ago, and after another change to the DC legislation. So in fact, rates are the rates will be based on what the rates were in effect at the time that the zoning amendment was approved. So that's also good news for the developer moving forward, that there is a connection there. Now, we know that this is a moving target, however, and of course, there isn't a subdivision agreement that's been written yet, or registered, obviously. So it is a matter that we're aware of and that we will, finalize before moving into the agreement phase.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Committee, your recommendation to council, Member O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move the approval of the application if you want to read it.
Okay, the report plan 2026-005 red line revision to draft approved plan of subdivision Squiresbelt Home Inc. be received, that the red line draft plan of subdivision substantially in the form attached as Appendix C to report plan 2026-005 be approved by council, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the documents and agreements required by the approval of this application. Seconder for the motion, Councillor Ashmore. Any discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Okay, and that brings us down to our final motion of the afternoon. Member Willick, motion for adjournment, seconded by Mayor Elmsley. All in favor? That carries. Thank you for your time.